It's Wednesday today and it's exactly a week since we had our first group discussion in class. I hope our teacher's going to continue what began so well.
I'm sure he will. Well, here he comes.
Good morning, boys and girls.
Good morning, sir.
We shall have our second discussion this morning. I shall read something from today's newspaper and let's discuss that. Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Well, here's what the newspaper says. A doctor who qualified last year was asked by the government to go to a remote village about 100 kilometers from Delhi. He was asked to man the health center recently opened there. He refused the government's offer. The director of medical services is planning to take action against this young doctor. Well, that's what the newspaper says. What do we think of the doctor and the director of medical services?
I very strongly feel that this young doctor is a criminal. A criminal as wicked as Hitler.
Hitler? Why do you bring in Hitler here? He wasn't doctor, was he?
No, he wasn't. But I think I can see Hari's point. Because of Hitler's cruel policies, thousands of people lost their lives. Similarly, because of the attitude of some of our young doctors, thousands of Indian villagers die every day. In this sense, this young doctor can be compared to Adolf Hitler.
I don't think there can be two opinions on this. Doctors are wrong when they refuse to work in rural areas.
Lakshmi's right, but there is an extremely important point we have to take into account here.
And what is it, Ashok?
My father told me the other day that the government spends about 200,000 rupees to give medical education to one single person. How can any doctor refuse then to work in villages?
There's a moral point also to be considered here. All men and women, whether they live in big cities or in small villages, are created by the same God. A doctor's sacred duty is to relieve human suffering. If a doctor refuses to help a rural patient, then he's unfit to call himself a doctor.
But why do doctors refuse to work in villages?
Greed. Nothing but greed. You see, if they go to rural areas, they have to be satisfied with the salary the government gives them. In towns and cities, they can do private practice and make a lot of money.
I think Gopal's perfectly right. It is greed that drives our doctors away to Washington, Sydney, Dubai and Riyadh.
Can't the government do something to make every doctor work in villages for a few years?
Well said, Bindu. An excellent idea indeed. But how do you think the government can actually do it?
Very simple. When a person's admitted to a medical college anywhere in India, the student should be asked to write a bond. It should say something like, I hereby promise that, after completing my medical education, I shall work in a rural area of India for at least 3 years.
But don't you think force is wrong in anything?
Lakshmi's right, but there are certain things which can be achieved only by force.
Sorry to interrupt such an excellent discussion, but I'm afraid it's time for the next class. Well done, all of you.